Can you make gains with a poorly constructed program? I believe absolutely, depending on a couple factors, of course. So my first program, in my opinion now, was not the greatest, but it still worked amazingly. Now you're seeing some old footage of me lifting from about a year ago. I'm going to do a video in about a week explaining why I haven't done any lifting videos. But for now, let's get into this topic. So in the beginning of time, when I first started going to the gym, I had no idea what I was doing. I went 3 to 4 times a week and basically did the exact same stuff every time. Mostly upper body, mostly machines, no real structured like weight progression, deloads, anything of that nature. I didn't really track, but I had some decent understanding of what I would do each time, and I, tried to kind of repeat that every time. I usually started with Smith machine bench and then worked up to a 3 or 4 rep max. No drop down set, no 3 sets of 10, nothing like that. Then I would move on to shoulder press or machine fly for a couple sets. Then move on to maybe some pull-ups, some cable pull downs, some lat pull downs, something like that. Again, no structured progression. Then some machine shoulder lateral raise. There's actually a lateral raise machine that I really liked at that gym. Then some tricep press down, and maybe some machine preacher curls or something like that. And I would typically finish with some squat machine squats. These, for whatever reason, I was pretty consistent trying to work up to about 4 plates each side, which is probably something along the lines of a 135 squat. And then I would do a drop set, and then another drop set, and then another drop set. I think I did decently well with my squats because, sorry, I'm just moving the mic here. I did a workout with a friend, and he brought a friend who definitely knew what they were doing and showed us the squat machine. This was at his gym, and then I tried to find one similar at my own gym. So I think my leg training was probably the best or most structured out of any of the stuff that I was doing. And I basically just tried to do slightly better than the last week. So I had some idea of what my weights were each week, and I pretty much always tried to use the same machines once I kind of figured out which ones I liked, which I think played a very big part in why I did make some good progress. Even though I wasn't using free weights or barbells, I was sticking with the same movements and then trying to get better each week, or at least consistent. I thought I was getting better. I wasn't really too sure because I didn't, like I said, track as specifically as I do now. At a quick glance, it would appear like a less than optimal program because I was just repeating it every time I went. No alternating, nothing of that nature. No 4 to 6 week period of time and then changing out a movement or anything like that. Definitely not a program that would work well for me now, but in the beginner phase, as most people know, almost anything will work. And the case could be made by some people that machines can work very well in the beginning when somebody doesn't know what they're doing. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I'm not a huge fan of machines. I feel that free weights are better so that people can learn the basics of what's going on with their body and how to use muscles appropriately. And then maybe you add the machines in at the end. Now, of course, I'm a home gym lifter, so I can't use machines anyway. So I've had to adapt and work with mostly barbells and free weights. But I can understand some scenarios, like if somebody just can't figure out how to do a squat and, maybe for whatever reason they have some limitations, the leg press might be a better movement. Or maybe a goblet squat is going to be the go-to over a barbell squat. Or, there are some people that I could see the Smith machine bench being better based on what their shoulders are able to do or based on some other limitations. So I think machines totally have their place. And in the beginning, they could allow somebody to work harder, right, than a barbell bench. So maybe you start off with a barbell bench and you work on the form and try and progress. And then afterwards, you do some Smith machine bench because you're able to push a little harder, right? But that's its own video. I've literally made a couple videos on just this concept, why I think there's like a machine only lifting approach now that people like to use. But I'm a barbell and a dumbbell person. So for today, we're just going to talk about gains, why those gains made at the beginning, or why I was able to make those gains at the beginning of my journey with a very unstructured program and with very little barbell and dumbbell. So back on track here. Like I said, pretty much anything works when you're starting out. You just need to work hard, eat and sleep. But as you move out of the initial beginner phase, consistency becomes more important. As you get stronger, you need to take more rest. Literally, I wasn't strong enough in the beginning, as with most people, to need as much rest from the movements. I'm not talking about sleep. I'm talking about I'm not moving enough weight where it's going to be able to tire me out as much, to the point where I'd need 2 or 3 days recovery like I do now from, chest or back or shoulders. I could do back-to-back workouts, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and be able to do the exact same thing at maximum intensity and be able to repeat my performance. Nowadays, there's no way I could get away with that. If I have a good deadlift day or a good shoulder press day, I need to rest the next day from that movement. I can do something else, I'll be fine, but I can't do the same movement again. This changes even more as you get stronger, which is why you'll see the best of the best taking a week and a half or even 2 weeks between a heavy deadlift session. I always like to reference, Hathor Bjornsson. Obviously, it's a whole different ball of wax when you're at the top of the world, in a movement like that. But I still think it's an interesting, example. And you can see that with a lot of people that are moving some good weight on deadlift, squat, bench. They're taking a good amount of time in between before they're going back to, a maximum effort. So kind of 2 extreme examples there, comparing a beginner to, somebody trying to lift over half a ton. But I think conceptually, you understand what I'm trying to say. Also, with this program, I was implementing a couple methods that I use now and that I have my clients use. For example, even though I didn't know exactly what weight I was using on a tricep press down, if I was feeling tired and under-rested, which is not likely, I would do less weight. So I still made some variations back then based on how I was feeling for that day. Even if it's not as specific as how I approach it now, the concept is still the same. And I'll still have my clients follow this approach too. If somebody's feeling tired, I tell them to drop the weight by 10 pounds. This program worked for about 1.5 years for me before I started seeing a pretty solid plateau. But I had some other things helping me along the way as I was progressing. I was homeschooled, so I was able to sleep more than your typical teenager. I was not huge into video games, so when I went to sleep, I actually fell asleep. There's a difference between someone telling you, oh yeah, I send my kid to sleep at 10 and then I go get him at 6 a.m. You don't know if that person's actually sleeping or not, because a lot of kids have video game consoles, a lot of different factors. Most kids have phones now. I didn't get a cell phone until I was 17. So my sleep was, I would say, better than 99% of people going to public school or people that have cell phones and video game consoles in their room now. Anyway, I ate real food, typically with less than 5 ingredients, not food-like substances, not processed food. Almost never went out to eat. Pretty much 100% of the time, homemade food from my parents, and they were very supportive of my lifting journey. So I was able to get extra protein. I think these are 2 of the most crucial parts of why that programming worked for me. I wanted to cover this topic because I believe it reinforces in my mind why food and sleep are such a huge part of this lifting journey. I gained at least 15 pounds of muscle on this program, and I look back at it and think, how? But I look at other factors going on at the same time, and I can understand why it worked. If somebody can make solid gains with a poorly constructed program, then maybe food and sleep are an even bigger part of what causes us to grow than we think they are. A lot of people say lifting is the easy part, and food and sleep is where it actually gets challenging. I completely agree. And also with people that I've worked with, in that initial meeting, I'm always asking, how's your food? How's your sleep? And sleep can be a huge factor holding people back from gaining muscle, burning fat, getting stronger, basically getting to wherever they want to get to. And same with food. That's why I always talk about tracking. If you're not tracking the food, maybe tracking the sleep. I know they have watches and stuff that you can wear to see what your sleep actually is. You can find out if, am I actually getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, or am I just laying down, right at the minute? That would mean I'll get 7 hours straight if I fall asleep immediately and wake up exactly on time, which is not typically how it goes for most people. Most people wake up in the middle of the night. They have more restless sleep. So something to consider if you're not making the gains you want to make, perhaps giving yourself an extra hour, trying to settle down a little more beforehand, not looking at screens immediately beforehand, not having a huge amount of carbs. Just a couple things that made some differences for me, still make a good amount of difference for me. Having a good program, absolutely crucial, especially as you get better and progress more in your journey. But the net message here, if you're not recovering, you're not growing. Till next time. Peace.